Hey guys, Icy Cat here. Today we are getting a look at the teaser trailer for both of our new operators. While these two seem to come from very different worlds, we're going to get a look into their identity and what they can do coming up next.
Everyone's running from something. But the darkness within can't be vanquished by distance. It can only be tempered by finding something to run towards. And the promising light of new horizons.
Okay, so that was the full teaser trailer that we got for our two newest operators in Operation Void's Edge. Let's just kind of go through this step by step and take a look at what we can glean from it. So the first thing we start off with is showing ORYX running down this hallway. Looks like some kind of a prison facility or something like that. He's just moving along at a very high rate of speed, just kind of training for that endurance. Then we transition over to Lana as she's floating in a space station in orbit. She eventually drifts up to this window that allows her to take a look outside, and we get an interesting look at what her gadget's functionality might be on what we see on her wrists and the back of her hands. Devices like these are used in virtual reality for things like haptic feedback, as well as conveying precise positioning regarding finger placement and things like that for manipulation of virtual objects. The unit on the right hand seems to have more points of articulation than the unit on the left hand, as well as a larger instrument pack. Now, when we were watching before, we did see her flicker like a hologram, and we'll get back to a shot of that in a second, but this is probably what allows her to control that hologram representation of what looks to be her own character model. Having the higher points of articulation on the right hand may indicate that somehow this operator can not only project or manipulate a hologram, but can also control it in some sort of a way. And if there's more articulation on the hand joint, then this may be the firing hand for the trigger finger, which may require more direct sensitivity, or it may be where the gadget is deployed from, or something like that, where the hologram may actually copy those hand motions. Then we transition back to ORYX as he bursts through the surface on the side here and continues his running. And if we get a little bit more of a close-up on what he's got going on, we can tell a few things about him. His ability seems to be an ability as opposed to a gadget. So it looks like he's just going to be able to burst through kind of soft surfaces, as we've heard rumored. And we can see he's got those thick leather-wrapped forearm guards that kind of give his skin some protection as he does that. He does appear to be kitted up for some endurance. It looks like there might be some kind of a heart rate monitor strapped to his arm there, or some type of biometric feedback device for monitoring his condition. And then on the backside, he has what appears to be some kind of a camelback or hydration system. So obviously, ORYX is kitted out for stamina and endurance as he's doing this in addition to his strength. That may give a bit of an indication that his ability could perhaps be somehow limited, some type of a cooldown that's tied to the fact that he may overheat or spend a lot of energy bursting through so that he can't chain a bunch of these together in rapid fire. Having these kind of attentions to detail for some kind of a biometric feedback, heartbeat monitor, or a hydration pack, as well as in further shots showing him kind of seeming to need to catch his breath, indicates that this may be a charge effect or a cooldown effect or something along those lines. Then we transition back to a shot of Lana standing on the moon looking at Earth, and you can tell that even from this faraway perspective, she does not appear to be wearing any kind of a spacesuit. So obviously what we are looking at is the hologram. Again, we did see that flicker briefly in the previous shot when we were showing the full trailer. Now here we get a really great look of ORYX looking up at what looks to be the fortress map set atop this high cliff. And that gives us an interesting aspect as to what we can expect to see for this new season. Last year in Season 1, we got Operation Burnt Horizon, and it was the only new map to come out for the year, but it was the first map in Season 1 for the year. So we got the new map right away. And what this image might be telling us is that there's a reference to a specific map here, so perhaps we're not getting the new map right away in the first season like we did last year. Maybe instead what we're getting is a hint at a rework for Fortress. ORYX then begins walking toward the fortress in the distance and cutting back again to Lana, showing a little bit more of a close-up of her, and then you get the telltale flicker of the fact that obviously she is not standing exposed to the vacuum of space on the moon, and that is just her hologram being projected from where she safely sits inside of the space station. Additionally, we have this letter, which is written from Castle, sent to Harry, the new 6 on the team. After a bit of preamble, he says he looked into the newest additions to Rainbow. Castle says that Lana was an open book. Family of engineers, excelled in academia after busting out of the Air Force for reasons beyond her control, and you've got to be a pro keeping a cool head to go into orbit, at least in any kind of technical capacity. She's stable, sure, and predictable, but that doesn't mean her tactics are the same. I like what I've seen so far and look forward to frustrating her attempts to gather intel in future matches. Then Castle says ORYX was a different story, in that there isn't much of one. I know he comes highly recommended by Kaid, and he's the second in command as far as the fortress goes, and I trust your judgment. Still, those 15 years where he disappeared from local and international records gives me pause. I've met him, I like him, or what little he's been willing to show me of his personality. The problem is, he's a mystery, and I don't like mysteries in my line of work. Later on in the note, Castle then says the one thing they share is a love of the element of surprise, of catching people off guard and seeing how they react. The letter is then signed Miles, which is, of course, Castle's actual operator's name. So we have a strong hint that our map for Year 5 Season 1 may in fact not be a new map, but a rework for Fortress. ORYX's ability seems to be tied to his physical strength of bursting through surfaces and may in fact be tamed by some type of a cooldown or charge effect or something like that. We also know that he will be receiving an MP5, apparently with no ACOG, a SPAS-12 shotgun, a USP-40 handgun, and the Bailiff 410 pocket shotgun revolver. Lana, on the other hand, appears to be able to manipulate some kind of a hologram version of herself with points of articulation on the hand, meaning it's more than just Alibi's passive hologram system, however it works. Furthermore, Lana's loadout will consist of the ARX-200, Ash's G36C, and the MK1 9mm handgun that both Frost and Buck have access to. Now, we will be getting the full reveal of information regarding these operators during this weekend's Coming Up Invitational. We'll be getting the season reveal on Saturday and the Year 5 roadmap reveal on Sunday, with then the following week this stuff coming over to the test server and then sitting there for about 3 weeks before it comes live to the full build of all platforms on the game. Now, we've been discussing a lot of this over on our new podcast, Rainbow Six Radio. If you haven't heard of it already, please do check it out. We also have a subreddit for that, so if you want to follow us on the subreddit, you can get all the links to the shows that we have posted over there, as well as leave comments and ask questions for the community that's forming around this new show. But on this week's show that will actually be going live today, we do discuss in great detail what is going on with this upcoming season and what we know so far, in a much longer, in-depth podcast format. Once that's up later today, I'll put a link to that below the video player here for you to be able to access it as well. Now, there's still going to be more news and information coming regarding the new season and the new year ahead, so if you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you click that notification icon so you get alerted as soon as new content becomes available. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter, and don't forget to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platform. Just search up Rainbow Six Radio for the podcast. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next time.